Hello, everyone. Welcome to the July Koha-US Cataloging Special Interest Group. It's delightful to see you all here. This morning, Barbara is going to make an announcement about KohaCon, and then we have submitted a very interesting question from Margaret, which we'll do. So Barbara, take it away.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to remind you that KohaCon 22 is coming up this September. It's September 20th through 23rd in Lawrence, Kansas. I'm going to put a link in the chat to the conference webpage. You can find out about the presentations that are going to happen. So the draft schedule is there. There is information on hotels and just lots of information. I'd love to see everyone come to Kansas. You can also attend online. So if you're only going to attend online, still register, because we'd like to know everybody that's attending, and it'll probably help us know what kind of AV and YouTube-ness and whatever. I don't do that stuff, but I think it's important to know everybody that's coming, whether it's in person or online. So tell your colleagues. It'll be a great conference, and hope you can participate.
I'll be a remote attendee, unfortunately not able to travel, but I'm going to be tuning in with delight. So thank you, Barbara. Also, I'm going to put my email address and the email address of our group in the chat. And then Margaret, did you want to talk about the very interesting cataloging record?
Okay. The original thing, the way it came up in the first place, one of our Cirque staff was asked by a patron for a particular title by Nora Roberts. So she pulled it up in the catalog and told him that we had it and it was available, and the patron went and looked on the shelf and came back and held up the collection of the whole series and said, why didn't you tell me this was there? This is all of them together in one book. So now we're trying to find a way to make that really obvious which titles are included, because they're cataloged. It says 3 complete novels in very small print at the top, but that's what's in the 245. And it shouldn't be like that. So we're trying to figure out what we can do to make it in your face obvious which titles are included. I thought it would be a great idea to put a 740. 740 doesn't show in my catalog at all. 700s do. 740s do not. So what's that about?
Oh gosh, yeah. 740s do show up in our catalog. I think that might be something to look into. Also, I had one idea for Margaret and put a link to WorldCat Records. That's my idea was in the 245, the cataloger gets to choose. If there's a collective title, like 3 complete novels, the cataloger can choose to do the 245 at that level with, say, 700 fields or contents notes, 505s, or there's some records there in that WorldCat link that put the individual novels in the 245. Mm-hmm. Maybe other people have other ideas about ways to address these omnibus editions that may or may not have collective titles.
Sorry, I somewhat spaced out. First, to make the 740 viewable, that's controlled in your framework. So in administration, if you go to your MARC frameworks, whichever framework you're using, if it's book, then you need to go in and say 740, make that field viewable in the staff interface and in the OPAC. That's where that's controlled. What we've used in the past, and I can't remember how it appears on the OPAC, is the 505 analytic records. As well, I almost think we've even used the 246.
Yes.
But those are the two that we tend to use, and the 505 shows up in the record itself on the OPAC. Now, whether or not we set that to do that, or if Koha automatically does that, I'm not sure. But
I think it's pretty much a default
we've done
to
a lot of
show
work
the
on our frameworks.
505.
okay.
Yeah, I was just
Okay.
looking up 3 by Flannery O'Connor at the Library of Congress, and the 3 titles are in the 505.
Yeah, I looked up in our catalog and we've got it every which way. I was hoping I could give you a standard for us as well, but we definitely have some that have it in the 246, which, I mean, it gives it sort of the same weight as the title when you're searching. So if you search for that title, it would have the standalone, but also the 3 complete, sort of in the same ranking. And then we do have it in 505 sometimes, and we do have it in the 246 sometimes. So I would think about trying to get it to float to the top in your search, and putting it in the title is going to be the best way to do that. But a 246 might be an alternative to get it sort of weighted higher. And it does depend on your weightings and what search engine you're using and all that jazz.
How do
Okay.
you control your weighting?
In your
Do you know
Elasticsearch
our series
administration.
title? I don't have Elasticsearch. We have Zebra, because my series title is popping in but like it's weighted more than my 245, and I don't like that. I want my 245 to be weighted higher than my 440, 490, whatever. Like, but I don't know how to fix that.
Yeah, I
So
think
does anyone know how
I
to-
think with Zebra, you're kind of stuck. It's converting to Elasticsearch that gives you the control to
Yeah.
increase and decrease weighting.
That's what I was afraid of.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Elastic. Actually, it's been absolutely terrific.
Our IT department is waiting on Koha to catch up to the speed at which Elasticsearch updates its indexing or something like that, to my knowledge. So they don't want to upgrade us to Elasticsearch yet until Koha gets a little bit faster at including how it all works, because we're unsupported. So when or if we ever go supported, that's probably going to be on the top of our list of, okay, you manage Elasticsearch for us.
I'm even less supported than you are. I have to figure out how to do the whole thing myself. And if
Yeah,
anyone has an answer to Christie's question,
Christie asked in the chat, is it a big process to transition? And Jennifer says, no, the switch was really easy. We found it absolutely painless. There was a little bit of playing and troubleshooting with our search weighting. So I found it helpful when we made the process before we transitioned with Zebra. I made notes about the things I didn't like and the things I liked, and some search examples, so that, and then what I did was I saved some screenshots. So I had those examples of how our catalog behaved with Zebra. Then when we switched to Elastic, I did those same searches and compared. And if they were not improved, then I knew how to adjust the weighting. And in the in our search settings, or at least had a start on how to start. And the other thing that I did was made some notes about, there's some really good online resources, and I can make a note to look at, you know, for our August meeting about resources on switching from Zebra to Elastic, that where the documentation about how the search is going to behave differently to give to our staff so that they knew. And then there were a lot of reminders because we had spent years on Zebra. So it would be like, okay, truncation works differently this way. This works differently this way. This is, so notes about the behaviors and notes about the documentation were really helpful.
So we should mention that it was easy and painless for us supported people.
I was just about to bring that up.
Yeah, so I did find the wiki on it with the instructions on how to do it yourself, Fred, but I don't know how easy and painless it'll be for you guys. But if you are supported and your support company has experience, like for us, we waited a long time to switch to Elastic, and when we switched, you guys who had adopted it earlier had already worked out most of the kinks, so we didn't really have to change any settings at all. It was working pretty much out of the box for us. So yes, it was painless for us.
Is Zebra going to be supported for a long time? Does anyone know? I mean, on the one hand, it would be nice to install and learn something new. On the other hand, no one ever uses our catalog. It's only the staff.
I don't know. I would guess that they'll plan on supporting it until they can't. No one's gonna shoot the Zebra.
I know that in Bugzilla, I still see bugs, you know, to correct and adapt and improve Zebra behavior. So I know that it's definitely currently being supported and developed for. So yeah, I'll do some looking and be sure to get some resources together for our August meeting. That brings me to a page I wanted to mention about. There's a PTFS website about improvements to, they have a video for improvements to searching in Koha 21.05 and 21.11. that I thought I'd mention to folks. And then also Bywater Solutions has put up, and again, these are resources available to anybody. There's nothing paywall or restricted. Bywater's page about upgrading to 21.11 has some really good mentioning of some of the notable features and links to resources. So does anybody else have anything they'd like to mention today or ask about?
I did finally find out how to remove, give you the follow-up on how to remove the availability for your online resources. I will share my screen and
we're seeing your screen.
there we go. log in. It's a plugin is what enables it. So if I go to my tools, tool plugins, view all, it's this one right here.
Oh, install the Galadriel OPAC theme designed by Michael Cavus. Ah.
And what we're looking into now is using it to figure out our color scheme and all this so that it's all on the front end instead of the back. But yeah, back over. Hide the action buttons availability for your online resources. So now when I go to the OPAC, maybe. Okay. I don't know why it's being slow. I also don't know why it's behaving like this
Because other people are watching. That's why.
there we go. That is exactly why. I'm like, we have jQuery to make this so much easier. It now just shows the lovely link and got rid of that whole, is it available? Where is it available? That is very confusing considering it's available online and not in an actual library. So that is how you took forever to figure it out and look at videos.
And those pretty links that say click here for online resource, full text available online free, those are being generated from your 856 field in your MARC record?
Yes. So in the record, and that's generated by both the subfield 3 and the subfield here we go. Three and U. I've tried to make it easy for our catalogers and made a drop down list.
Oh, that's beautiful.
That you select. So this is an authorized value for us of all of the main options. And then if you need to, you know, specify it a little bit better. So actually, I need to clean this one up. So, wait a minute, what is this? This is a, so this is a for journal index and full text. And so the URL, the link, in the link text, we're actually going to move to 3 because we cleaned it up before. We just had online journal. Actually, that one worked. Some of them we just had online access, and we've changed it all to now say online version access so that it actually describes a little bit better for the material so that we can move it into 3 and still use the Z to make it in specific. So here it doesn't even show up that there's a difference at all. And if I update this, it's not going to look any different. It'll just change the wording of the text. So it doesn't really matter what field you put the text in. It shows them all the same. The size of this text, that plugin will allow you to change the size if you want it bigger or smaller, as well as the color, which
You know, Lauren, this is gorgeous. I think it would be great if you would consider a Koha-Con presentation on how you implemented the plugin and then creating the authorized values for your catalogers. It's stunning.
Next year, this year, Fred and I are already
Yes.
doing one on how to convert from Excel to Mark, and I can't even go. I have to watch online. I'm so bummed.
You have to join online. You're going to be
I'm
there too,
hoping
right?
I
Next
don't
to me.
I may have meetings during this. I'm like,
I can
they
get a
haven't announced
doctor's
me
note.
yet.
Anyone here have a PhD?
It's still in, they're still finalizing our meeting. And it's like our whole department from all over the world. That's the week we decided for our meetings. So it's like, it really needs to happen because people are coming from literally all over. My supervisor from Australia is coming. I think we have someone from Germany coming. It's been on the books for a year. It'll be fun. I just watch it online at night.
I'll be remote attending too. I'm really glad that that's an option.
Okay, can I get a cardboard cutout of you, Lauren?
Mhm.
Okay.
I don't know. Just have a cup of tea there, and that'll be
Yeah, how about a
me with my-
teapot?
There you go.
Well, thank you, Lauren. Thank you for the follow-up. That is terrific.
Yeah, whenever I'm finished cleaning up our library and working on frameworks, I am planning on doing a presentation on what we did with our frameworks, including the whole online piece of the puzzle, because that took like months to find what to do. Yeah, and I'll look, because Bywater did, I found in my notes, Bywater did a blog post and video about that app and how to do, or that plugin and how to do it. And when going back through all my notes, I found it. I'm like, oh.
I just want to like plug the fact that Lucas is actively working on Galadriel, and he mentioned at the last WebDev SIG that he's always eager to add like customizations that we're doing to Galadriel so people can use. So if there are things that you'd like to see added to the plugin, coming to the WebDev SIG is a good place to get your voice heard about that.
Okay. Good to know.
Does anybody else have anything they'd like to bring up or chat about?
Well, I was moderately, well, semi-successful in attaching for the author's catalog, the residence program and location to the many of the 100 fields. Yes, I know you want them to be 700s. I'll do that someday.
Your catalog, it's
easy in Mark Edit.
I know, I just have to export the entire database and do, actually I can just do it with Notepad, change all the 100s to 700s. But not today, okay?
I'll just pop in and say, you know, in my humble opinion, the difference between a 100 and a 700 is an artifact from card catalogs about what you would want to appear at the top. I think it's totally academic at this point. And yeah, anyway, but Fred, go on.
Well, I think I did have to change the record to allow multiple 100 fields. And I did try, I think it was, anyway, I ended up using A, B, and C, B for the program and C for the institution. U would have been better as far as the cataloging format, but I couldn't get it to work. And I don't really want to go back and edit all the, see, I think it's XLST, XSLT, you know, the ones I mean.
Mhm.
So it's working.
Good.
But then there's the Georgetown Washington Hospital Center residency division that I don't want to think about and you don't want to know about because it's too boring. And it's not really cataloging, it's turf.
Well, to briefly fill in folks if they're completely confused, Fred was trying to add in some information about affiliations to name headings. And so 100, 700, usually personal names or family names. And a subfield C would be added usually from more, just some miscellaneous more information to differentiate. So that's a good place to put some things sometimes if you have to really go non-standard. One of my favorite examples for that is a heading that's something like Smith, John, subfield C, rat catcher. Because you often get a profession used to distinguish the name from other names.
John Ratcatcher Smith.
That's
Her
right.
nickname.
That's right.
Yes, I should have added that because there's a few new faces here. Guess what I'm doing is taking Medline records, converting them into MARC records as best I can. There are a few things that would make real catalogers clutch their pearls. Heather, I noticed you're not wearing your pearls today.
No, I'm going crazy today. No pearls to clutch.
Like the 857 field, which I should probably change the 856, except 857 I'm using for the digital object identifier, and I would like that to appear like it to appear rather than just a click here, if that makes sense. Because the 856 generally doesn't show the link, though I could probably do it in something else like the 856Z.
The 856Z does display a public note, or like we were seeing with Lauren, a subfield 3 is some text that could say the online journal is available, you know, select this link for blah, blah, blah. And in the subfield 3 or the subfield Z, you can, it's free text. You can put in anything, it will show up and then be clickable through whatever's in the subfield U. So if you wanted to repeat what's in the subfield U in a subfield 3 or a subfield Z, go for it. And then it displays.
Yes, when I started out, just putting our link that we would use to get to this place in 856, but then the two big problem companies started linking the DOI to what we would get. So it's not really all that useful anymore.
I put a link to the Mark 21 format 56 field in wanted to keep talking about with this saying subfield 3, subfield Z, subfield U. Well, it sounds, Fred, like you've reached a point that's good enough.
Yes. It sort of works. And
does anybody have anything they'd like to bring up?
Yeah, I just want to ask you, I don't know if you know, but is there any commercial software that is right now trying out BibFrame? Because we heard that EBSCO was trying that, and we sent them a message asking about that, but we didn't get any answer. So I don't know if you know about this or anything, because we wanted to see it implemented right now in any software at all, just to test it, see it, and we heard about EBSCO, and I don't know if that's right.
Yes, we talked about BibFrame in one of our previous meetings, and I had put a link in the chat to a really, really good recorded session on BibFrame that had some demonstrations. The Library of Congress is actively implementing it. That recording in chat should be on the Koha-US YouTube.
And they are implemented through which software?
They have developed an interface that they are using to do the cataloging. I'm forgetting off the top of my head. Maybe other people know about it. I know there are other libraries.
Do you know about EBSCO, or I don't, because we heard I don't remember his position, but a guy from EBSCO telling that they were already trying it in any of their software.
I know that there are a lot of Koha libraries that do work with EBSCO, and oh great, Jason put a link in the chat, and I know that Bywater is also involved in some interface with EBSCO. And yes, I know EBSCO is actively aware of BibFrame.
Okay, I will see that link.
Yeah, and that's just a news article that Marshall put out this April, saying that EBSCO is working with BibFrame somehow, but I didn't dig any deeper than that.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm going to put a link into the chat to the Koha-US YouTube channel that I searched. It's a search for BibFrame that should pull up some of our cataloging group recordings. And if you have any trouble with that, or don't find what you're looking for, or would like more information, shoot me an email and we'll bring it up again at our group and talk about it again. My sense of it, oh great, Jason, thank you. Jason put in another great link, is that it's there, it's coming, but it's very much, I would kind of say like beta testing. People are developing it, it's in development, it's on the horizon, but just the sheer volume of what's in MARC 21 is going to make MARC 21 viable for a very long time. But the
I believe so.
Yeah, but the crosswalks are there.
But we just wanted to see it, just a demo. Yeah,
it's really cool. I mean, if I'm used to looking at what I call the naked MARC record, you know, like as exported, just a big long string of characters. And then looking at the bib frame, it's like, oh, that's easier to read. I think it's very interesting.
Yes, yeah.
And that link that I put in there is the one for that webinar that we were talking about. So it's from the Library of Congress, and it talks about how they're implementing it internally and testing it internally.
Thank you. Perfect.
Yeah, thank you, Jason. That's exactly the one I was thinking of. I found it absolutely interesting and good, and a great recording, great explanations, great demos. And also, yeah, the Koha community is very aware of BibFrame, and I've found I've found that Koha is much more flexible. Of course, I mean, it's actively developed. It's developed by the community. When such changes come, implementing them. So any other comments, questions?
Sort of.
Sure, Fred.
A while back, John Sturbins and I were at the ALA conference at the Koha-US booth, table, but I did get a chance to go over to OCLC and chat with them a bit. I was sort of hoping they might have an arrangement for really small, teeny libraries, such as 1 hour of Z3950 access for this much. They don't. Figured it was worth asking, but I asked and they said no. Might do some sort of consortium, but then they'd have to know who is in the consortium. You couldn't be a member of the consortium for a couple of weeks and then drop out. So another great idea down the drain.
Well, maybe it's not necessarily down the drain. Koha-US is an organization. Is some sort of consortial? I mean, why can't Koha-US become an OCLC member, contributing cataloging to the Koha-US demo, and then the Koha-US demo has a Z3950.
I'm waiting for Madam President to chime in with her thoughts.
Madam President doesn't know. Madam President doesn't use OCLC even, so.
Where does Madam President get her records?
We do Z3950, and we get we get vendor records from from the vendor we purchased from, and we work with those. And
so my understanding is the OCLC has a cost, right? I mean,
Yes.
Is it per record though?
No.
So you just subscribe to it?
Yes, you get
Yes.
a subscription based on various and sundry things. We're an OCLC. Yeah, they used to charge per record, per transaction, that sort of thing, and now they've simply moved it to a subscription based. So one would have to get a quote, figure it out. But I know there are such things as consortial memberships, educational memberships. They OCLC offers educational subscriptions. There are different type of cataloging subscriptions. There's a full subscription, which means you can affect changes in the OCLC database to records. there's an educational subscription, meaning you can interact and make changes, but all your changes are wiped out at the end of the evening. And that's designed for library schools, library training programs, so that they could play around, but really not do anything terrible to a record. It'll be wiped out later. And then there's searching subscriptions where you can search and export. So and then there's different levels of subscription based on what service you're using. If you're interacting with the SEKLS database via connection, which is their either web-based or client-based cataloging software, or other interfaces they have, whether you're using it for cataloging or interlibrary loan. So my library, for example, we have a cataloging subscription and an interlibrary loan subscription.
Yeah, so do we. And then they also offer through, I think it's WorldShare, the ILL, cataloging records once a week for, let's see, for us, Clinical Key, or McGraw-Hill, for our online collections from them. Access Medicine. But there's also, I think, a much smaller subscription that you get so many records per month or per year that you can download, but that doesn't have OCLC. And again, I'm thinking of really teeny libraries with a few thousand books that just want to get a bunch of records to start out their collection, but they won't do that.
There's another way that I can think of that teeny libraries can get some cataloging assistance would be, say, people who are Koha catalogers who would be willing to do it on a volunteer basis. Say a teeny library can supply some basic information like a scan of the cover and a scan of the title page and the title page verso and the last page. And another Koha-US member could come up with a nice basic record for them, say, and put that record in the Koha-US demo catalog so that they could then download it.
I like the idea of setting up the demo site as the target where we can supply records to people. I think that's a good idea. I don't know about harvesting the records from OCLC to supply them to the world. That might get us in some trouble. But yeah, I think that's not a bad idea.
Liz says she has a form for their libraries to fill out. Liz, if you could share that form, that would be super awesome.
When you stop recording, I have more information.
Excellent. Yeah, something that we were chatting about beforehand, before we started the meeting, is the fact that I'm looking at retiring anytime from this very minute to 3 years from now, depending on how nice my job remains and at various other factors. And I mean, I, for one, want to continue to use my skills for the benefit of the Koha community. And you know, catalogers tend to be nerdy, geeky people. We organize information, and I know I, for one, if some library around the world filled out that form and contributed the scans and said, hey, can anybody just do a record for us for this? And, you know, if I'm in the middle of cleaning my kitchen and I wanted to just do something quick and satisfying, I'd probably volunteer to do some of those. And catalogers are great giving people. I bet there are other people here who would. Okay. Thanks. That's the form, Liz. Awesome.
It's actually our LibGuide, and under, if you click on it, go down to cataloging. I have different forms for different formats. So I have for books, TVs, magazines. So please try, this is just for CK libraries, unfortunately, but you're more than welcome to take inspiration from this and things like that. But they all go to a single Google Doc file, Excel sheet thing, and I can type between pages And so they make a request. I fill those requests like once a week or so, and it helps our librarians out.
Liz, this is so awesome. And Koha-US people who are here, I know it's kind of a short turnaround, but if there could be something like a Koha-US form based on these forms.
And I am more than willing to like help make them or whatever. If yeah, like it's a very simple thing to do for me.
I have another idea, which is, we've talked on and off about getting a collection of Z3950 libraries that are especially helpful. I could just set up the demo with Z3950, and you could put in, let's say, the ISBN, click, it would go searching, it would add it to the Koha-US demo, but of course you can also make a list of, or add things to a cart and download them as MARC records.
Liz, when you get your responses for your books, do they ever come like 30 at a time?
Yes, it actually, that's more for DVDs, and I'm trying to discourage them from doing that because if it's a brand new DVD, it's not a CLC, and I have to make that, and it's like an hour per record, and I don't want to do that.
Okay.
I try to encourage our librarians to wait like a couple of days for the DVDs because eventually it will get in, not necessarily by me, but it's easier to find on a CLC after a few days. But yeah, it depends on who the librarian is, how proactive they are. We have 54 public libraries. Our school libraries don't really use it. But yeah, I think I've had it since 2018, I made these. And then I think I had like 400 requests on one page, 800 on another total.
Okay. Have you ever used MARC Edit?
That
You
is
can
actually
convert that spreadsheet. So I've actually had some volunteers for journal articles. I'm like, I don't want to teach you cataloging. Here's a spreadsheet with all the fields at the top. Fill it out, send it to me when you have 50. And then I convert it, but then I save my template.
Oh, nice.
And MARC Edit. And so then it's not as hard. Now I'm slowly learning what I did wrong and need to go back and change the control fields.
And since I'm actually pretty spoiled because we have an OCLC subscription and I use Connection and Connection more than anything else. So I can go in and generally find what they can find and bring it in. Original cataloging is getting a little bit more buffed because there's so many people who aren't going through publishers. So your indie titles that are little librarians love to buy, those tend to be the most original cataloging I do, and then like local history stuff. But no, I'm actually starting to learn MARC Edit. So I don't know much about it. And so I'm going to probably need help once I start digging into it more.
So Fred, you want to plug the?
Yes.
Well, we're here to help you. The MARC Edit list is very helpful.
Yeah, I've done a couple of videos on Meet MARC Edit, which are, I think it was at Kohathon, and Lauren and I at the upcoming conference are going to do a presentation on Heather. I wish you could be there.
I will be virtually there.
We need a backing group, yay! On converting spreadsheet to MARC. With MARC Edit, and then for upload into Koha. So if you go to avengingchicken.online, I know I have some slides from one of my presentations, including my wall of knives, which is, I think nice, though some people say terrifying analogy.
Well, I'm really excited by this. I think that the Koha-US cataloging record request form could go to cataloging@koha-us.org. Excuse me, so that the request can go to our cataloging group, and then we'll know if somebody picks it up and does the record that they can then put into the Koha-US demo, and then would be available for download.
Yeah, and when I'm not the only one who has access to the request list, but I have a color coded, like this record is in progress, it's this color, if it's finished, it's emailed to them, then it's this color type of thing. But it's really simple. Your eyes will blink from the yellow. But no, if you give me a link to that folder, I could start doing this.
If I may share my screen, I can show you a few slides from Meet Mark Edit. Let's see if I can find the right thing to share. Okay.
Oh, great. We're seeing it, Fred.
Okay.
The knives.
It's like a Swiss Army knife, except you keep getting more and more knives and more knives. And that's what I'm going to talk about in this one, because there's so far too much to talk about. But Mark Breaker, download something from OCL CUG 3950. That's what we're going to talk about. And that's about all I have to say about Mark Edit at the moment, other than it's free, it's wonderful. And it's wonderful and free.
It is a time saver.
That too.
That's my biggest jobs that I would never even, I'm like, there's no way I can do this manually. It would take too long. I can do, in a matter of minutes or hours with Mark Edit.
And it interfaces with Koha beautifully. It searches your Koha database and pulls in copies of your records. You can play with them and do whatever you want. And then when you've decided it's great, because you haven't affected your Koha database at all, then Mark Edit can send them back and overlay the original records.
And okay, in my author's catalog, I used to be have to copy the 099A to the 952P. Then I figured out how to do it with a keypad and a little script. Turns out you can do it in Mark Edit just in less than a second for a couple hundred records. I keep thinking, if I'd only discovered this before.
I can say that about so many functions in Mark Edit and Koha. Like, it does that. That could have saved me so much time. Had I known that it did that and how to do that.
Well, something I'm thinking of is that if our little cataloging request form is live by KohaCon, we're going to have a special cataloging special interest group session at KohaCon. It's on the schedule, so follow that link and take a look. If we don't have anything else to talk about and we've gotten a request, it could just be a demo like, hey kids, let's catalog, and just catalog something. I know, we know how to have a wild and crazy time. Oh, we're choked up, Fred. Oh, we have a couple more minutes if there's anything else anybody wants to bring up.
Only if you stop recording.
Okay, I think we're close enough to the end of the hour. I will go ahead and